Do you remember your first electric train? Did you ride that train on fantastic imaginary trips to far-off places? Would you like to do that again with your kids? You can, with MTH electric trains. Today on the Miniature Models podcast, we speak with Bradley and Rich from MTH and get an inside look at the future of the company. What are MTH's plans moving forward? What kinds of models can we expect? What goes into planning models for each year? All this and a whole lot more. So get your ticket from the station, grab a seat, and make sure you don't miss the train. Board! Good evening, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to episode 88 of the Miniature Models podcast. I'm one of your hosts, John Schwartz, and with me as always are my fellow co-hosts, Matt Z and Johnny. Guys, how are we tonight?
Super hyped for tonight's show. It's great to be back, and this is one we've had in the works for a very long time, so I am beyond excited. How about you, Matt Z?
Oh man, I'm excited. I think this is gonna be a great show, and I'm very excited to talk to our guests tonight. As always, we have a great time, and I'm sure this one will be absolutely no exception to that. I think it's gonna be a great time.
Yeah, this is going to be an excellent show. I've been looking forward to this for a long time as well. And we're not alone tonight. We, of course, have our resident guest host, Sid from Sid's Trains, joining us as well. How are you tonight, sir?
I'm doing great. I'm like everyone else has said, I'm excited to talk with MTH this evening. They're a staple company in this hobby, and I'm just excited to learn more and I guess spread awareness since some people still don't know too much about MTH. So I'm really excited to talk with them tonight.
Yes, indeed. We're going to cover some fantastic topics here this evening. Unfortunately, our wonderful friend Matt R. could not be with us tonight, but he is here in spirit, and we are going to get rolling here. Yeah, this is a show we've been extremely excited to do. Joining us for the very first time are Bradley and Rich from MTH. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us tonight. How are you both doing this evening?
We're doing great, John. We're happy to be here. Thanks for having us.
Appreciate y'all having us tonight. We're excited for the show.
All right. Well, since we have so much to cover tonight and we want to take full advantage of our time with our amazing guests, we're going to dive straight into our topic for tonight and save our normal check-in for the next episode. So, guys, we always like to bring people together with an icebreaker when we start. So let's address the elephant in the room. Bradley, Rich, is MTH closed?
Obviously, the fact that we're here should indicate that we're anything but closed, and we never did close. Frankly, I can understand where some people might think that, because early on, about 5 years ago, it looked like MTH was going to sell off its assets and ride off into the sunset, as it were. But it was mainly during the early days of COVID, and the sale didn't go as planned, as it were. And so we decided that we could downsize to a large degree and still keep the company moving forward and still offer a lot of good trains. Some of our tooling early in the process, before that decision was made, was sold to Lionel, and some of it was sold to Atlas. But we still maintain the vast majority of the tools. And anyway, we're still moving forward. We do a weekly e-newsletter. So you can visit mthtrains.com. There's a sign up for the e-newsletter notifications, and you can stay up to date on anything new we've been promoting.
I love it. Yeah. No, but I still cannot believe that people do not. I still get asked that question. Oh, isn't MTH closing? Where'd they go? They sold everything off. They never, it's crazy how like that information spread quickly, and yet now we're still talking about it here. It's like, no, MTH is doing, fantastic stuff. And that's part of what we want to do here this evening is kind of promote the company with you guys and just discuss some of the things that you all have coming down the pike. Sid, did you want to go ahead and add something on there?
Yeah, I was going to say, speaking of just the company in general, this kind of an overarching idea and information is that MTH as a company is kind of split up into parts. You have the MTH Electric Trains, who's making the trains. You then have your R&D, and you then have the parts, which are kind of all separate entities. You have any kind of, I guess, could you elaborate on that just a little bit, just to provide people with, I guess, some context and maybe clarity? Because being part of this community, I hear a lot from people, and understanding how the company works to an extent might help them understand how you guys produce trains.
Well, sure. Really, the parts got spun off early because when it looked like MTH was likely going to close, we still needed to have a parts department that could for warranty and things of that nature. So that got spun off early in the process. We work out of the same building. They're on one side of the building, we're on the other, and we do help each other out a fair amount. But if you're on our website, mthtrains.com, there is, what's it under, Bradley? Resources?
Yeah, you can find it under resources. You can scroll to the bottom of the front homepage, and there's a parts and sales link down there. And then also a feature that we've added to the new website, and something that they're growing on their website as well, is just the fact that trains that the SKU that you enter to go look up something, they've been posting blown up diagrams, whether that's mechanical or electronic diagrams that, label the part for you, stuff of that sort, and then give you a whole entire parts list of what they have in stock. And also to go on with, parts and sales, they grow by the day. And the reason we say I word it in that way is that they're unboxing more parts that they've had and putting more stuff into inventory. And there's a lot more available, to my understanding, and I'm new here, but there's a lot more available now than there was in the past. And they're real good about what they do as well. And they do a fantastic job of, getting their orders filled that day, communicating with people to make sure they get the right part. The best way to contact them is by email. And so that's how you get to it. Sorry, Rich, I kind of went on a rant a little extra on them, but
no worries, Bradley. They have done an excellent job with that, with the new parts department and the new website. Way more exploded view diagrams than the old MTH, and you used to have to grab a Snickers waiting for your part order to get filled at the old MTH. They get stuff out, if not the same day, by the next day. They're much more efficient. Anyway, if you haven't seen them, check them out. You can, like Bradley says, there's links on our page to get to them.
That's awesome. And we definitely, from our community here, there's been a lot of praise of the new site and the speeds and things being a lot easier to navigate. So the difference has definitely been noticed.
Oh yeah, it's night and day. It's absolutely wonderful. You guys have done a great job with the new stuff.
Yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Actually, kind of piggybacking off what you said, Bradley, since you're a bit of a lot of folks in this hobby are familiar with Rich, but you've been a name that's starting to pop up more here and there when it comes to the MTH side of things. Would you mind, for folks who aren't familiar with you, kind of explaining what you do with MTH and how you got to the company?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So essentially, I started in August, call myself the new guy. I am I'm related to Mike Wolf. He's my father-in-law, and he approached me not too long ago, back in April, and asked if I was interested in learning the train business, and if I'd like to join on with Rich and Doug, our production manager, and then Hippie, another guy that kind of bounces back and forth between parts and us, and just learn with it. And Rich has been in the game for so long, so hopefully I can, when his time comes and he's a free man and he doesn't have to work anymore, and I can pick up everything that he's done, hopefully, and just keep things going and carry it on. In terms of what I do, it's kind of a little bit of everything. I do a lot of stuff on the website. I communicate with dealers and with custom orders or dealing something with their orders, putting orders in, all sorts of that stuff. Also customer service as well. So we do a little bit of everything. We all do. We unpack the containers, we mail them out ourselves. We got a pretty good little system, and we're running it essentially of the MTH electric trains part with about 3.5, 4 of us. And the reason I say that is because, like I said, Mark goes back and forth. And then to kind of side segue off of myself and go back of what Sid was asking earlier about R&D, because we didn't answer that. We do have an R&D department that is up in Michigan, and they do a lot of stuff of working on boards that are going into trains, our command control system, the WTIU, or they made the old TIU, the WIU, the DCS Explorer, all that stuff that either goes into running the train or into the quote unquote guts of the train or the brains of how it all goes. So
very cool.
I do really respect how much work you guys put in to the company. You're both very hands-on from what you've told me. And you guys are a fantastic positive influence and very down to earth with your customers. Going to the shows and everything and talking with people. And just being really good ambassadors for the hobby. It's been really fun to watch.
Oh, we appreciate that, man. I remember meeting y'all at York. And that was my first York. I still got the stickers that y'all gave me. And I remember, you all filling out the list of stuff you're interested in and talking that weekend. And I'm glad, it all wrapped back together and, us, being happy to talk to you. And then now we're on the podcast tonight. So it's cool how it all comes together.
Yeah. And I appreciate the kind words as well. Thank you very much.
Oh, easiest thing in the world. Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. You guys are the ones who make this hobby possible for us. It's just great that, you make these products that we love and enjoy.
For sure, 100%.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Looking to expand your collection? Check out Trains.com. Trains is your go-to place for new and used model railroad products. They have everything ranging from engines, rolling stock, parts, track, and scenery. If you need it, they probably have it. With new discounts being added daily, you'll be sure to find something you like. Plus, Trains offers a newsletter which keeps you up to date on new items, discounts, and upcoming promotions. We've been using Trains for years, and we highly recommend their stellar service. What's really cool is you can also collect points by buying Trains and using them on future purchases. With their awesome rewards program, you can earn points on every purchase that you can use for future discounts. Dedicated modelers can also join their private card membership to get exclusive access to new listings, earn 5 points per dollar spent, and unlock great benefits like no questions asked returns. Trains not only sells trains, but also buys them too. If you got a large collection or are interested in downsizing and making some cash, you can head on over to sellmytrains.com. It doesn't get easier than that. You can find them using our affiliate link, www.trains.com/MMOP, or if you want to use our one-time promo code MMOP, you can get $10 off a single purchase on the Trains.com website. So check out Trains.com and start expanding your collection today.
So I feel like this is kind of a good segue to kind of talk about just MTH in general. Now that we kind of have an understanding of what the company is now, let's talk about kind of what the company is now. What is MTH?
Well, we are obviously not as big a company. We probably, by the amount of SKUs we put out annually, maybe a little over 50%, maybe 60% of where we were maybe 6-7 years ago. We are in a smaller location, which kind of forces us to be a built-to-order type of company where generally the way it's been working is about every Wednesday the consumer gets an email from us, and there might be, 4 to 6, say, GP9s in a variety of road names. And the next week it might be half a dozen hopper cars in different road names. And while doing that, we have a lot of our dealers and some of the clubs and whatnot will piggyback up on that production and do some custom runs with us. So say we're doing a run of GP9s. At that point, the minimum order quantity for custom runs is not nearly as high as if somebody wanted one out of the blue, if not in our production. So it allows us to do some modest quantities of road names sometimes that we would have never offered in the past, because a lot of those custom runs are very local to where the dealer or the club is. And often when they come to us and say, we want to do a run of this road name, I'll look at them like they've got two heads sometimes, because I would think MTH would never offer that. And yet it sells well, and they do well, and the customer gets a chance to see some things that I may not have had the guts to pick. So I think it's a good thing for everybody involved. And anyway, so we just keep going along, and it's a challenge to get your stuff together every week and be ready to promote it. But the business model has been performing pretty well, and we're pretty happy with the way it's going.
It definitely seems like it. You guys have pivoted to, I think, a very smart position in the industry, because as we know, things, as people say, things have gotten quote unquote more expensive. But you guys have kind of become this sort of high-end model company where you're doing these, you're doing a select number of locomotives per year, and you're really picking like the cream of the crop as to what you're doing. You're talking with consumers and local places as to what like custom runs, like you said, might be not something that MTH would do themselves, but like you listen to the community and say, oh, this is something, it's kind of a win-win. You can give and take and have a comfortable medium of where you are producing just the right amount in this sort of industry where you become, like you said, you become sort of a built to order company. That's kind of what the industry has pivoted to now. I think that's a really smart place to be. You guys seem like you're doing it right.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's kind of by necessity with the amount of space we have. But it does allow you to offer, sometimes when we were, say 5+ years ago, we were putting out 170 page catalogs, and it kind of gets overwhelming to the consumer at times, where when you spoon feed the stuff in a more modest pace, a lot of times it's more, I don't know, you get a chance, the guy gets a chance to look at just that promotion that week, and not 160 or 70 pages of trains. So it is a different way of doing it. I'm not saying we'll never print anything again, but so far that's been working pretty well for us. And we feel like if we did do more print material, it would almost be out of date by the time we got it into the consumer's hands. So at least right now, we don't have plans to go that direction, but we're open to, move with whichever way we have to.
Yeah, to me, it's great. As a consumer, like I see a product come out, and like you said, I can just look at that. I can kind of embrace it and understand what's being made. When you have a catalog, it is like great because there's all these trains. They're 170 pages or something like that. But at the same time, me as the consumer, at least in like my personal position, I can only anticipate myself purchasing an X amount from that, and it's a very small amount compared to a 160 page catalog. So the smaller offerings every week definitely, I think, is a great way to go, and everybody in our community has been loving it. There's always something for somebody every week, basically, or every week there's something, and a lot of people will be satisfied with it.
Yeah, thank you. That's pretty much the plan, and like I said, we're open a lot of times. The one thing that I think has always kind of set MTH apart, even from the early days, and I was around during the early days, is we tried to listen to the customer, pay attention. When you're going to train shows, keep your ears open, answering phone calls from customers, whatever. You got to listen and keep your brain open for the ideas that these guys have. Because even as long as I've been at this, there are certain items like that customers will call or email or whatever, and I'll think, yeah, it's we haven't made that in X amount of time, and why haven't we done this road name? We've never done that road name. That type of thing where sometimes you're so close to it you don't see it. So I encourage customers, give us your feedback. A lot of times that feedback to the dealers drives people wanting to do custom runs too. So
yeah.
Anyway.
And to tie into that, as Rich said, and how we've downsized and in a different model, and it not being direct to consumer, the hobby shops or the dealers are really important to it in the long run. I know the consumer drives everything in the end and what they get, but being able to go to those hobby shops on the weekend and, go check in, talk to some other people that are in the hobby. I think that the way it's done and how we are directly with the dealers and staying in constant communication with them, I think it's a good thing overall for the industry. And how it's a great way for us to hear feedback, and get out there the road names that people want, have interest of. And as Rich said, some of these things, it would not be beneficial in the long run for MTH to do a whole road name of it. But what Pat can do at Easy Catch and certain things in his area, or what Pat can do in West Virginia, or what Muffins can do over there. They really can sell those road names. They know the history behind them. All these people saw them as kids going by. And it's a really good just web of how we work together and establish that, instead of just those, and there's nothing wrong with the big road names, don't get me wrong. But it helps branch out and get some of those things that you definitely would not have seen back in the day. So,
yeah.
Sure.
You mentioned feedback, and we ask this to all the manufacturers we talk with, is what is the best way to give you guys feedback? Is it email? Is it phone? Or is there another way? Like, what's the best way to provide you guys feedback?
I would say email is often the best way. Sometimes people, they can attach some images, that type of thing. Sometimes they type up a little bit of a short history of what this thing is, or this railroad did, or whatever. And then you can do some more research on our end and then decide, okay, this is something we want to pursue. The emails are a little easier because we only have a few of us that are there, and I'm kind of now that Bradley's here, it's helping the cause, but I was pretty much the only one that was willing to answer the phone. So phone calls, you can only take on so many of them.
Yeah, exactly.
But emails, but anyway, it's whichever way it comes in. I'll take if somebody wants to write a note on a wet cocktail napkin and mail it to me, I'll read it.
Well, it's great to hear
there.
that is
Right.
It's just great to hear that you're open to feedback. And now there are, there's so many methods, whether it be email or phone or at a train show, and the fact that, like you say, you're in contact with the dealers directly, it's likely that if somebody talks to the dealer and that dealer has a good relation, they'll probably relay that information to you. So no, it's just great to hear that you're open to feedback and that there's all these methods to get it to you.
yeah, and I mean, certain things we can get done on our end, and other things are not as feasible. But just a small example, when we announced the Heavy Pacifics, right, John? You had emailed us and asked a simple thing about the New York Central, I believe.
Yes, indeed.
And getting something bumped, and you had sent us some photos of what you were explaining and what you were looking for, and we went and we communicated with some of the production people and the factory, and we looked at it and the benefit of it, and we said, all right, that's something we got to do. So as I mentioned, not everything can work that way, but we are open. We're approachable, and y'all drive the hobby, and Rich will tell you this. I am no train guru, and I'm learning every day, and we learn from you all. And my goal is not to learn more than or know more than any of you. My goal is to listen to you and learn from that, and then produce what we can, quality wise, and from there. So.
We appreciate that so much. I personally do, as a fan of your company, of your products, and also just as someone in the hobby. That is immensely just a wonderful thing that you all provide to us. And another good thing, I think we always kind of discuss this with kind of our community and you all, but it's very good to, since you are open to this feedback. It's obviously helpful when people are, of course, respectful and understanding of, certain limitations and everything, but also, helping you guys out as much as possible. You've provided us this outlet to give you feedback and to, like you said, kind of do this as a community. So people doing their homework from get-go, having product numbers, if you have something you want to change, like say you want to have something move from here to here, like on this model, having that product number ready, or possibly having like a paint color code, or even like links to talk with other people, historical societies, or even photos. All that is a very helpful thing to do. And just kind of getting all that info ready beforehand is always a good thing to do. Wouldn't you all say?
For sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And in whatever form it comes, you can at least start down a certain path. But a lot of, some of the stuff we get for custom runs, it may as well be on a wet cocktail napkin. Other things we get, the guy has laid it out so well. You don't have a whole lot of questions to ask about what you're building for him. But nevertheless, we don't try to turn anybody away. We'll take on whatever, feedback we can get. So
that's very admirable. We appreciate it.
Want to support your favorite O-Scale podcast and rock some awesome merch? Well, now you can. We've teamed up with Redbubble.com and have come up with a great selection of gear that you can get right now. They have everything from shirts, hoodies, stickers, mugs, bags, you name it. Heck, you could even get a wall clock with us on it. All this great stuff and more at Redbubble.com. Links are down in the show notes, so grab yourself some gear and rock some awesome podcast merch.
This is, I think, probably a good segue into talking a little bit about custom runs and just production in general, if we want to kind of go down this pathway. What do you guys think?
Yeah, let's rock and roll.
Alrighty. Matt Z, do you want to start us off with some of like the stuff about production quantities and everything?
All right. How many Premier Steam and Premier Diesels every year, and how many of the Rail King items would you guys say you make?
That's a good question. I'm not even sure I can count, but there's usually, depending on what the items are, in terms of the number of custom runs or the quantities involved in it, or how exactly?
Yeah, in terms of kind of if you don't have to do the exact percentage, I guess. In terms of do you tend to do a more number of steam, or do you tend to do more diesel during the year, or do you tend to try to have a balance of Rail King versus Premier items?
We do try to balance the Rail King and the Premier somewhat. Our steam capacity is not as big as our diesel capacity, so definitely it's more diesels than steamers. And we just try to rotate some things around so that we've constantly hitting new or things we haven't offered in a number of years if at all possible. But it does allow, like when we are building a certain type of diesel and we don't have to do anything crazy, a custom run could be anywhere from 24 to 36 pieces sometimes, and that's pretty low compared to most manufacturers wouldn't do that. But most of the time it's in the 30 to 36. And then for a lot of the rolling stock, you can get into anywhere from 80 to 120, depending on what the product is. So that's what we've been doing.
That's really good to know. And
Nice.
like you said, those are some great numbers, at least from the standpoint of getting something made that's special to a group of people. If the limit was like 100 or something like that for certain items, that might limit people from getting something they may want. But the fact they're so low, it allows for people to get stuff made, and it shows there's some really cool products out there.
Yeah, no question. If the minimums were a fair amount higher, especially with the engines, it would stifle the thing. And most dealers, they're taking a risk, and you start making that thing go that much higher, it's tough. So,
and to kind of piggyback on top of on that, you can kind of look at the overall yearly schedule and kind of see, like, a Premier steam engine is probably a quarterly kind of thing.
Yeah.
I could probably go trade, my Toyota Avalon for a big boy, and I'd get more value out of the big boy right now. It's not, I'm not going to say, and so we can't just pound the market with Premier Steam once a month or something of that sort, or, and you'll see a good spread of probably a Premier diesel and a Rail King diesel per month, or a Premier every other, something of that sort, and just, keep a healthy balance of what we see, what the market wants, and, and from there.
Hey, I mean, some of your Rail King models, in terms of, especially with diesels, rival Premier stuff that you all make. So, I mean, there's no problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
no doubt.
A lot of those Rail King, people kind of don't understand, but we were probably the first company that was really making scale proportion die-cast steamers and scale proportion diesels back in the early 90s. But the market was not as discriminating as it was later on. So some of those Rail King scale engines are old Premier tools.
Mm-hmm.
And we just the market at a certain point started demanding more hand applied detail, screens that were see through and things of that nature. And it wasn't worth redoing that tool. You may as well build a new one from scratch. So we didn't want to throw the old steel away. So we just rolled those tools into what we call Rail King scale. And they are very nice models, and often offer the customer a very good value. But still, there are some customers I talk to that are kind of picky people. They only want the Premier engines and they don't care. So it doesn't matter.
I got to say, the Rail King scale line is indeed fantastic. I think one of the most recent releases that you guys have done that I personally purchased and was very excited for was the re-release of the PS3 FP45 diesels. The guys here in the Midwest, I'm from Chicago, the guys love it. They love the Santa Fe versions. I've seen the Great Northern version. I think since they were released, I've worked on my own personally, and for customers, I've worked on about 6 of them. They are out of this world, and they're great, and they sound great. And if you're willing to put a little effort into changing a few things here and there, they rival the Premier model, and I don't think there's anything out there that can even hold a candle to them. So it's really nice to see these toolings that have been around for quite a long time still be able to go into the market and be available, and yet have new life breathed into them to the point where you still get excited when they come out again.
And obviously, not everybody has a 30 by 40-foot basement for a big scale layout. And so it's nice that somebody can purchase a scale or scale like product and be able to run it. Because there's a lot of people in our community that always ask if it can run on 036 or 031 or just something smaller than 050 or rather 072. And the Rail King line provides that, and it of course has all the same sounds and smoke as the Premier stuff, other than like whistle steam or something like that. But they're very nice products.
Yeah, thank you. And you're right. The some of it's the price point, some of it's the space restrictions, and we'll keep on doing it. So.
Well, that's great to hear, because I know a lot of the majority of the hosts here have all grown up on MTH. I know John and you and I have shared our memories of early Rail King starters. I know Matt Z, you're part of that too. I think Sid was a Lionel kid growing up, but he still has a love for MTH.
It was funny. I'm from Maryland, and it was owning an MTH product was actually, it was kind of like it was a dream. My neighbor had MTH stuff. I had a couple starter sets and some Premier diesels, and it was something I look forward to, going to see whenever I go run trains with them. So yeah, no, it's something that's been around for a while, and it's great to see that it's still happening.
I'm with you there, Sid. It was very much a kind of like a hometown thing. It was, I always liked it that the trains were kind of like, I was like, oh, they're in Maryland, they're right down the road, so that was nice.
Special.
Yeah, exactly. And I also just liked, I don't know what it was. It was just, this is like, oh, I came of, I was coming of age right when it was like, oh wow, this is the new thing. It's been this way for a long time. With Williams and Weaver and everybody else. And then along came MTH.
It wouldn't be me if I didn't mention this. I was fortunate enough to see and sort of know probably one of MTH's greatest ambassadors, Tony Lash, and being a like 9-10-year-old kid, seeing this massive layout with all these MTH trains running on it. It was awesome.
Hey, don't forget 60 grand in trees.
Yes, 60 grand in trees.
Yeah. No.
Tony's not through.
Man. And
I have not had the pleasure of meeting him, but I've only heard plenty of awesome stories. So
it's nothing but
he's one of a kind, Bradley. he is.
He is.
That layout was truly something to behold. It was just amazing.
Fantastic.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, it was. We all enjoyed MTH growing up as a kid. Like I said, it was just that sort of like, it had that, they call it in like the video game industry, that X factor. It was like the one extra thing where it was like, this is the new thing. This is the way forward. This is what's going to be, the future. I guess I don't know if I could see it as a kid, but it just kind of felt that way, when you powered up, like Johnny. I always love your story of like getting not to badmouth lineup, but just the Polar Express with the air whistle after having MTH as a kid, and we're just like, what is this?
Nothing crushed me as a child as much as wanting the Lionel Polar Express, because it was the big thing, and that was what kids of our age grew up wanting. And getting the Polar Express, begging my dad for the train sounds tender that went with it, and having been spoiled by the PS2 era and having smooth sound transition even within conventional control, putting the Polar Express on the track, blowing the whistle, hearing the crew talk, hearing the whistle, being excited, hitting direction, and then hearing that brief moment of silence as just all the sounds died, and being spoiled by MTH and going, well, this sucks.
Oh man! By the way, that unbranded North Pole line that y'all did, genius.
Oh, I love it.
Rich is the holiday master. He is in the office. He is a pun master of the buildings.
You're
their
the building
names.
guy?
He is the genius behind the names of the graveyards.
Oh.
I came in, I started looking at some of these things. I said, who came up with these? And then Rich just gave me this grin, and I was like, this is the mastermind behind it all.
Now, Bradley, I'm the most humble guy in the train business, I've told you. So keep Keep the praise to yourself.
Oh man, the pun buildings are one of most of my wish list of buildings for my layouts are MTH purely because of the signs. The "What were you inking?" tattoo parlor, sole proprietor shoes, walk this way Chinese food.
Walk this way is my
I was gonna say,
favorite.
yeah.
Walk this way.
Or the vinyl resting place.
Vinyl,
the
I
music
have
store.
vinyl resting
I love
place.
it.
That's my music
Do
shop
ya?
one. Yes. Oh,
Yeah,
Sweet.
you got dirty hose.
Dirty hose.
You got the IRS building that's on fire. And like
that
the
is
people
so
putting
hard to
it, yeah,
find.
yeah.
Oh.
There's some good ones, and
Well,
he's good at it.
some of my ideas were vetoed. Let me put it that way.
Oh
So
no.
We're saving them for 2026.
There you go.
I
love it.
I would like to say, in all seriousness, one of the biggest things people should be, I think, if you're an MTH fan, excited about is the fact that Bradley is working at MTH now, because he's got a lot of enthusiasm. He's a very hard worker. Mike still owns the joint, so he's looking at things now from a longer term perspective than when my decrepit old ass was the only one in there. So you're going to see some investment from MTH into some new products, some new tools, and a lot of that, or virtually none of that, would be happening if Bradley hadn't said yes and actually come to work at our place. So you'll see Bradley at a lot of the train shows, but you may not see him at York this year because his first child is due right then. So, by the way, Bradley, I didn't order you a badge because I didn't want you to feel like you needed to go. So
it's okay. I ordered one, and you're gonna make me cry, Rich. Don't say anything else. I'm over here tearing.
Hey, we
so
had our
excited
little
for it.
pre-call, and that's all it took. That convinced me. Talking with you, Bradley. That's all it took. We had all kinds of great discussions. And Rich, you mentioned it. The fact that new products are on the horizon. That's going to excite a lot of people. And we all look forward to that. And of course, with those new items, there'll probably be plenty of custom runs that come from that. And as we've talked, there's a whole process to that, and it's great to hear.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm gonna hop on this as well. Just for context for our listeners, we did have a call to kind of plan this show and things we want to cover, because MTH has a very special place in all of our hearts when it comes to this hobby. But also, Bradley definitely is to be applauded for his passion and his enthusiasm, even as he says, as a newcomer to this. The fact that he was willing to talk with us, the fact he is just as enthusiastic, if not more so than we are, in terms of seeing things being made, getting the feedback, hearing what people are saying, and really inspiring us a lot in terms of wanting to see what's coming from MTH. As Rich mentioned, MTH has a reputation for being known for listening to feedback from customers and wanting to do what hasn't been done, or filling the gaps when other companies have not been able to do something in this hobby. And Bradley, he's on it. He wants to hear everything, and he wants to hear the good, the bad, and the fact he was willing to take the time to talk to us, not for such a long time as well. Well, it was several hours of good back and back discussion.
He was a good sport about it.
He let us be our former selves and talk about all the stuff that we wanted to talk about, and he was just as excited as we were.
Oh yeah, we were full.
In a time of the hobby right now where there's a lot of uncertainty, and in terms of what the future may hold, the three of us left that call feeling more invigorated for this hobby more than ever, and we couldn't help but to spread all the good news that we could. That MTH, it's not just MTH is still here and it's kicking, but it genuinely feels like MTH is here and is stronger than ever and still staying true to its roots. So Bradley, your passion for this and being able to talk to you on this kind of level as guys who grew up on MTH products, it means a lot, and we really appreciate that.
Here, here.
Oh, I appreciate it, but I read what you wrote about me on the Discord, Johnny. So that's all lies right now. No, I really do appreciate it, and yeah, I think what makes me so excited, honestly, is and I told you guys this is what the passion you all have. Trains was not a hobby of mine growing up. I have a family member that owned a hobby shop that is extremely into trains and planes, model cars, things of that sort. I had uncles that had layouts and all that. I was an angler and stuff of that sort as my hobby, but if I put in 1/4 of the passion that rail fans do put into it, I'd probably be a professional angler right now. So, it really is, it amazes me, like the history that you all know behind everything, how everybody has their own either railroad or something that they want to model or just, and the way that everybody's imagination takes off, I think is fantastic in terms of all that. And I think that's been one of my favorite parts about everything is, my first day in there, they gave me the 5-minute tour and said, all right, go find us a bunch of SD60s to go put on the schedule. And I was like, what in the world?
They look like bread.
And yeah, and well, then SD60Es it was. And then I started just reading about like the history of the trains, why they made this transition, all that. And that's, one of my favorite parts, or reading about like engineering failures of steam engines and stuff of that sort. I think all of that is fantastic. Or I was texting John the other day. I used to be in the oyster industry. And I was like, let's look up if there was something oyster wise. I want to see if MTH can make something oyster related. And I looked up, and there was this old oyster carrier car that they made, and it was a complete failure. All the oysters arrived over temperature; they were all dead. And it didn't work, and it just made me laugh. But I think that's been one of the best parts about it, and to tie into that. And go to the custom runs and the small railroads, and anybody can make as much fun as fun of me as they want to about this. I know Rich pokes at me about it all the time, and it's funny. When they ask me to put some trains in the schedule and look into it of what we've had in the past and others, and I'm scrolling through all these photos on different websites. I think one of the websites even went down since I've started at MTH. It's hard to find some good stuff on the internet right now. But anyways, I found this railroad. Rich, I cannot remember the name of it, but I showed you this train, and I was like, we have to make that. And you were like, what in the hell is that railroad, Bradley? And I looked it up, and I think they had 24 miles of track.
Well, I got to say, when he told me the road name, and I don't remember what it was, something in New England, and I turned my head and looked at him, and I go, they can't have 20 miles of track. And then he has to Google it and find out they had 24 miles. So I was wrong.
Oh, my God. He read my mind. I was just going to bring up the oyster car thing. You have to get those made for that cool logo company that you worked for, man. Hell, I'll buy one just to support the cause.
Same here.
But yeah, we'll see about it. But yeah, that's been my favorite part is the history and all that stuff behind it. It's been so cool.
Yeah, well, that's a big part. That's a big part of the hobby. I think we're all history buffs to a certain extent. And it's really cool. It's one thing to run the train, but when you know the history about it and you can get all to the nitty gritty details, it makes you appreciate the model and the history even more. And kind of like, again, tying back to the custom runs and all that, everyone has a local short line, and it's hard to advocate for those tiny short lines or those local commuter railroads to be made. And the fact that you guys have been able to do so many custom runs in the last couple of years, be able to do road names that a lot of us never imagined would ever be done in O scale, and at the same time show by taking willing to take that jump with the dealers and make those road names, show there is a demand where they can keep making more and more and more. Like EJ&E is one locally here that was not seen too often, but I know Berwyn keeps pumping more EJ&E stuff out, or Chicago Great Western and stuff like that. And not only does it give people the satisfaction of having a local piece of history on their layouts, but it pumps so much variety into the industry, into the hobby. Tooling gets expensive. It's hard. And this is just from a casual person. Obviously, you guys know the nitty gritty better than we do. But trying to say, well, we need to you guys need to do 3,000 new steam locomotives or 3,000 new diesels. It's not as simple as that. And people sometimes get bored of re-releases, but by offering those custom runs with new paint schemes, new stuff like that, new road names, gives the consumer a reason to go and buy another Jeep 7, to buy another F unit, stuff like that. And it's really clever, and it breathes so much life into the hobby, and that's something that I think really should be commended and applauded.
Thank you. And the cool part about some of those custom runs you also have to think about is that, these hobby shops, those guys, they know a lot, right? But what ends up happening is a couple guys come in here and they say, man, I haven't had this. I would love this. And then, they've had that build up and whatnot. And what ends up happening is there's a couple of guys that are, the local gurus on that. And so that hobby shop ends up working with that person, and they're just feeding, the details that are needed for those custom runs, and they turn out really, really well because there's someone, what was it, Rich? Lake State or Lake State Railway, Finger Lakes Railway. What was it that? But then I hadn't heard of it, and I looked it up the other night on Facebook, and there was like a whole entire that railroad fan club. And then one of those guys, I believe, ended up helping the dealer, get all those details into there exactly of what they were seeing at that time. And that kind of ties in just to what you were saying, Johnny. That's just what I wanted to say real quick.
No, and I've seen emails from some of our dealers where they're forwarding an email from one of their customers, and that's the genesis of a custom run. Right there. So if you talk to these guys, and depending on what it is, there might be some legs in that deal. So
another interesting thing is kind of going along with the custom runs is that I think you all kind of touched on it briefly, is about how you do have those regular road names you put out, and you have you'll do the big roads and everything, and there is some crossover in terms of certain locomotives. I mean, there's only so many diesel models out there. You can only, like, for example, like you and Lionel, I'll do a personal example. You and Lionel both make, and Atlas too, make GP9s and GP7s. It's a very common diesel. You can put it in infinite road names with different, details and everything on it. And everybody, I think for the most part, people tend to people might say, I like to buy this locomotive from this one company, and I like this locomotive from the other one, just because, it might run a different way that I like, or I like this particular detail on it, just the way it feels. But a custom run is a great way to kind of get someone in the back door in a way. I might not have bought a GP7 from MTH on a mainline item, but they've got this custom run of this railroad that was right in my backyard. And then you have a customer who gets to try out one of your engines that they might not have bought otherwise. I mean, for me personally, that was my first purchase of a GP9 from you guys, was the amazing Winchester and Western one that you guys did. Thank you so much for giving me one of my local short lines that I never thought I'd see in a diesel. And that was my first time buying a GP9, and it's a fantastic locomotive. So it's a cool way to kind of get people in that might not have otherwise bought one of those models.
No, that's really a lot of what was behind it. It's somebody can't resist because they've just never seen this road name, or this scenic railroad, or whatever it might be that they rode on, or whatever. and you're right. A lot of times it can be the first time the guy has ever bought an MTH piece of motive power, and sometimes that's what gets him hooked, and he keeps going.
Looking for something different? Need a gift for a fellow rail fan? Well, folks, look no further. NPL Customs is your source for all railroading decor. Handcrafted, made in the USA, and veteran-owned. Their products made for rail fans, by rail fans. I personally have a set of coasters from them that I absolutely love. Find them on Etsy at NPL Customs and use code MMPodcast at checkout to save 10%. NPL Customs, quality since 2017. Yeah, that relationship too you guys have talked about with hobby shops and customers and everything. Bradley, you were kind of telling us a little bit about this. I think you kind of called it the world tour that you've been going on around. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Man, sounds like it's Mike and Brad, the rock band. No, it's so we, as a lot of people know, I think the WTIU came out in November, and as a way for me to meet some of our dealers and customer base and whatnot, Mike and I bounced around. We went to Pat's in Wheeling, West Virginia. We went to Brady's in, I believe that is, what is that, Greensburg, Rich?
Greensburg,
Greensburg, yeah, Greensburg,
right outside
Pennsylvania.
of Pittsburgh.
Yeah, we went to Greensburg, Pennsylvania, and saw Brady. We went to Muffins. We went to Berwyn's. We went to Ready to Roll down in Miami, and we went to Roundhouse South down there in Port Orange, Daytona area. And introduced the WTIU, talked about it to people. A lot of one-on-one conversation with customers, me getting to know them, and like we've said all along, just kind of hearing that feedback and me learning of what people want, and Mike also just letting people know that he's still around, and we say he's retired. I like to say he's pseudo-retired, and Rich will tell you that, because Rich still gets a phone call from him every day, and I do too. He's still very vested in the business, and he does care about it. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, he's on Facebook commenting on things. He really does still care, but eventually everybody gets to a time in life that they want to retire, and it came around to where we're at now. And to continue on to the world tour, we plan on going to some other places. I know Rich and I have talked to Pat at Easy Catch, think about going to New York to go to there, at Train World as well, and Nassau Hobby, I believe, up there, and then maybe bounce around. We got Legacy Station down in Georgia. And, and just kind of cover our bases and go around. I want to introduce myself to people, and that's, been the idea behind that, as well as, introducing some of the WTIU stuff. So
I think you met our buddy Carmine down at Ready to Roll, actually.
Carmine, Carmine, if you can describe him, I'll see if I can.
Bigger guy,
dark hair, got a little bit of
dark
facial
hair.
Disney fanatic.
Disney.
He looks like a debt collector, Bradley, with a nose bent a little bit and big arms.
I met a guy named Big Dave. No, and I met a bunch of a gentleman. Actually, I was just talking to him on the phone today. That was at Ready to Roll. There was this awesome kid at Ready to Roll. This man showed up. He had his own Rail King Big Boy. And I think he was about 9 or 10 years old, and he comes to Ready to Roll every Saturday. And this kind of, ties back to what I was saying earlier about how going to the hobby shop on the weekend, and how that, as kids, getting them into this, because, times are changing, right? And with technology and everything, getting kids into trains it will not be as easy as it was, in the past. And this kid showed up with, his big boy, and he slapped it down on the track at Ready to Roll. And, he goes every Saturday, and usually they just give him very conventional controls, a bell, whistle, and, forward, backwards. And they tell him he can't go past this speed. And I opened up our iPad for him and let him control over the WTIU and the big boy on the layout. And man, I have never seen a kid have a blast. He was hitting the custom sounds. He had never heard these sounds. He was like, "Oh my Lord." Like his jaw was on the ground because his engine that he was in love with was making, it opened up a whole new world to him. And he was a speed demon as well. So I had to cap out the speed on the app at a max of 35 because he was like, I want 120, 120, 120. And I was like, dude, we cannot do that. I can't do that to your mother who bought your big boy. I cannot do that to Ready to Roll but the World Tour has been fantastic. And that was an awesome moment of it for me.
That's so great to hear that the newcomers to the hobby and the younger people in the hobby still have that moment. Because I remember, granted, I was much older when I had that moment, but as mentioned before, when I had MTH engines, I had my Rail King stuff. I ran them conventionally up until, oh goodness, I think late 2020 when I finally got back into the hobby as an adult. And something as simple as, to us who have been using command control and DCS for such a long time, something as simple as like being able to access like the forward signal or the reverse signal, or some of these soft keys that are just standard.
Yeah.
When I was able, because as a kid, I loved the sound of the forward signal during the PFA because I could activate the PFA conventionally. And when I finally got a DCS system and was able to access these sounds that seemed untouchable as a child using just a conventional transformer, it's almost magical, and it's really wholesome to hear that you were able to see someone have that moment in person with their Rail King big boy. That's amazing.
And I think this can actually segue into another topic. Is you mentioned the sounds, and getting a custom run made or just any product made and having it visually look the way you want is part of the immersion as a modeler. But you also have the smoke and the sounds are really a big part of the immersion. And myself and Johnny and John and Matt and so many other people really enjoy having our models sound like the real things did. And fortunately, with MTH products, you can change the sounds, whether it's using a sound set that's offered in the audio library, or there have been people who have developed softwares to let us modify the sounds completely and add our own stuff. And that kind of changed the way I know myself and Johnny approached modeling. I don't know, at this point probably around 4 years ago, because we were almost so picky that we didn't really do much because we didn't really have many options. But being able to change the sounds and make the trains sound exactly the way we want has made MTH products and just the electronics alone very enticing to us. Yeah, anything to say about that, Johnny?
Oh yeah, no, 100%. I'm with you there. It's almost become its own subculture, and this is something that listeners of our show are very familiar with me and said, talking about Matt, Zig, and John. All of us, we talked about this many times. The fact that you have customization pre-built, and always something that's been within PS2, PS3, where you can load, either you can kind of copy paste stuff from existing MTH sound files and make something, or if you're crazy enough or have someone who can help you make a custom file from the ground up to the point where you can't even tell that it's a model and that you feel like it's a shrunken down version of the engine, is massive. It's basically like this. It's almost like if you were to, for those who've never experienced like a custom sound file, it's almost like if you only knew the early PS2 Premiere Big Boy sound file, and that's all you knew for your entire time in the hobby. and then you buy one of the new Proto 3 big boys where you have the hiss, the dynamo, the bell, the whistle, the everything from the big boy. And I told this to Bradley off the air previously, but that I think is hands down MTH's best sound file in the modern era. That it is nothing can compare. And the fact that customization is so important to the young consumer who is within the 20 to maybe like 20 to 40, 2050 range in terms of these models. And the fact you guys support the ability to download a file from your website and change it to something that you want is huge. I've made this comparison many times before. Kids, if you watch in the video gaming sphere, you show someone a character customization screen, they're going to spend at least an hour minimum working building their character. And if you're trying to appeal to the younger generation, why not apply that to trains? And that is one thing that MTH has always excelled at. So this new movement of custom sound files or modifying your engines is so important, and it's something that I cannot be overlooked, because it really changed how Sid and I view our models. Heck, Sid, you watch me come into this hobby, buy a shelf full of legacy engines, and then sell 90% of them for MTH stuff.
Yep, that's how it went. And I was, like I said, I was a pretty big Lionel guy. That's what I was given as a kid, and it just kind of grew from there. But when I was exposed to MTH more and more, looking at my collection now, it's probably closer to 50-50, or maybe it's leaned more MTH, at least electronic wise. I have a lot of models that have converted, and it just does so much. And myself, I'm learning on my own to do custom sounds more, and we as a community have access to so many people who could provide us with audio for these sounds. And so that's something I know we talked about off the air, Bradley. And if it comes to fruition, it's something that could just take a model to the next level, and people seeing that out of the box would be very impressed.
Oh yeah, I mean, like Sid, I mean, you can relate. All of us can relate. We've, one of the most fun things too is getting to personalize your model, especially when it's with your friends. I mean, Sid, you and I have done, our custom PFAs we've done together for Cincinnatian and everything. And, Johnny, you've had some fantastic files made over the years. And Matt Z, you and I are always going back and forth on what whistle would work well with what, and, doing the stuff with the stock files and everything. It's such a fun thing to discuss. It's a fun way to customize your models in a way that nothing else really has at the moment. I mean, like stuff like Blue Nami and everything, but that's from the factory. It's not really like a thing you can put almost whatever you want in there. And it's also kind of special now too. I mean, like, Sid, when we're talking about like upgrades and stuff, and Johnny, we it's like, oh man, this engine we might upgrade this to MTH. Like, it's like, oh, DCC, this and that and the other thing. But it's kind of special now when something gets MTH in it, because like you want that extra little bit of personalization to it,
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'll tell you, with doing the files on my end, I mean, I, for the most part, mainly just kind of cobble together things from your guys' audio library. And let me tell you, the amount of hidden gems and little goodies that are in some of these files. I got files with some of them that have 30 engine clips in them, all different things. It's just little pieces, parts from each one, and you throw it together, and what you have is just a great file. Just working on one today for a Texas, and it's a stock, from various engines, but stock idles, whistle, bell, chuffs, everything. You can make it your own, and it's just something that's really cool. And I grew up with MTH, period. My dad and uncle had a big lab and everything, but it's just so cool to kind of see this become full circle and be like, you want it to sound like this, here it is, enjoy. It's really, really cool.
Well, we greatly appreciate that. And I do know that, I don't know, John S. might be needing some royalties after I heard that board earlier. We might have to get a little microphone in the studio going, and he might be the future of the PFAs. That man's got a voice for the mic.
Oh, thank you. You have my number. You know where I live. I am right down the road from you guys. Anytime you need me. Oh, fantastic.
Well, kind of piggybacking off the existing conversation here. Since we have so many people who are passionate about the sounds and wanting not only accurate models but accurate sound files, is there any how do you guys record your sounds or determine sounds, if that's something you can give insight to, and if there are people who can assist in getting you in contact with people who can help you get new recordings to update the library? Is there a way that you would recommend if that's something you're willing to do?
Yeah, just certainly just reach out to us on the contact us off the website, and we'll be happy to. We're willing to listen to anybody got some ideas and thinks they can help us improve the product. No question.
That's great to hear. Yeah, we've had some connections with folks who can probably help you guys out in terms of getting some great recordings or access to trains that you have unique sounds that can be added to MTH's vast, and that doesn't even encompass everything, the vast sound library you guys have developed over the company's history. So that's great to hear.
Enjoying this week's topic? You can join in on the conversation too on our community Discord server. We have a lot of different discussion channels, ranging from showing off your collection, discussing the latest and greatest in the industry, a buy and sell forum, and even a voice channel you can hop on call and talk trains with us late into the night. We're a little over 300 strong, and we'll love to have you join us too. Check out the invite link to our community Discord down in the show notes. Read and acknowledge the rules, and introduce yourself and start chatting. We have a great team of moderators who make sure all are welcomed and respected. So what are you waiting for? Come on down and join us in on the fun, and let's talk some trains.
Yeah, we were just last night we were enjoying some of our buddy RJ's. He just got the what is it, the BR44, the big German
BR44,
decapod y'all did,
yeah.
and some of the amazing German dialogue that was in that engine of the banter between the engineer scolding his firemen and everything in German. It's such a fun thing. Like you said, Madsy, all those little hidden gems that you can find in there. It's like, wow, they really took time to do that. It's just such a fun thing. It makes buying an engine so fun.
How'd the guy find a BR44?
Okay. I know the answer to this because I'm in the process. I actually have one coming for myself. So there are a ton of them over in Europe. A lot of them are the scale wheel, but a lot of people have Atlas track with or any kind of track that has a T-rail style of rail. You can run the scale wheel stuff by just adding pickups, and so a lot of us have that, and so we're finding them elsewhere. Obviously, you have to go through the trouble of bringing them here. There's a lot that goes into that. We have some friends that do that. That finding them here in the States is like impossible. The BR44 specifically. A lot of other models, you'll find a little more of the Duchess and things like that. But there is a very large following behind the European products you've made. And
oh yeah,
I know that's probably the most constant question I hear about MTH. That's about a very specific thing of models, is whether you guys will make, or if there's even a chance that you'll make European stuff again. I know you sold some of the German stuff to Lens. But I guess I'll just ask the question, do you guys have any chance of producing European stuff of any kind ever again?
Well, I'm never going to say never. One of the things that drove a decent amount of those sales was shipping to hobby shops overseas.
Yeah.
And that was a very labor-intensive type of process where you had to go through a lot of, figuring out the freight to get it there and all that type of stuff. So, I mean, some of those models were so beautiful. I still think we could sell enough of them here, but there are some ideas I have, and I'll talk to Bradley a bit more about it, about how we might be able to, because we just don't have the staff.
Yeah.
But if I did have perhaps And who knows where the staff will be down the road just a little bit. But another idea might be that there's a distributor we could work with as a single point of distribution, and that might make that whole process, the headache of it, a lot easier to deal with. I'm not sure yet. So, but I love those pieces. They were just gorgeous pieces.
They really are, and they're super collectible. The honestly, the drive behind it, I would say, is, not only are they European, but for a lot of the younger people in the hobby, we all watched Thomas the Tank Engine growing up, and Thomas the Tank Engine and all the characters from that TV series and the books, they're European steam engines and diesels and things like that. And so as we've grown older and come to like the real trains, we want a piece of that in our our model collection in 3-rail, and so that's where I would think a lot of the drive comes from for the younger crowd. I know John and Johnny have a lot of, or John, I know you probably have a lot to say about the European side of things.
Oh my God! Where do I even start? I would say the Orient Express. The Orient Express. That's, if it's not the greatest thing you guys have ever made, it's got to be one of them. That set is my MTH Grail, along with the Eastern Railway French Mountain. Oh my gosh! Just if I can find one of those, the full.
I thought you were an urban guy, John.
What's that?
I thought you were an urban man, and now I hear mountains.
I dabble.
You're giving me multiple stories over here.
No. As you come to know me, I dabble in many things. Yeah, how can one not love? I mean, that's literally, I don't think I want anything else MTH European apart from the Orient Express, because I mean, I was an Agatha Christie fan, growing up, as all kids are. Reading the books and everything. So, having a Murder on the Orient Express has been in my bookshelf since I was in middle school. So, having a model of that train, the freaking LCL car with the blinking light. Oh God, it's so pretty. But yeah, no, those engines and the French, the French Mikados and everything, all the intricate detail with the, the compounding and everything, and also on the 44 with the triple cylinder and everything. There's such a quality about them. And the crocodile, didn't Tony who just got a crocodile recently?
Yeah, the crocodile. Yeah, our buddy Tony and Dan.
Yeah, no, it's always exciting.
I need the crocodile.
Exactly. Yeah, it's always exciting when someone finds something in the server. It's like, oh my God, European MTH.
They're just extraordinary. And John, I think you and I were saying this one day when we had I think it was the French BR44 at the store.
It was, yes.
We've become very accustomed to American style steam engines from all the major manufacturers, and you're used to like flipping them over. They have a very solid metal die-cast frame, and we flipped the BR44 over, and it's so intricate on the underside that you're like, this is real. Like, this is a 3-rail, model. We're not used to that level of, I guess, above and beyond. Even the 412-2, I don't even think from anybody has like as much going on underneath as that. So yeah,
I remember arguing with Mike about that engine at the time and how I was saying, Mike, you're driving the cost of this thing through the roof and nobody can see what you're doing. Anyway, he had to do it anyway, which a lot of the reason, I think I had something to do with some of the success of MTH, but Mike was once he decided he was going to head in a certain path, you were not talking him off of that. And so once he decided he was going to do that with that BR44, I mean, it was, the money had already been spent in his mind. So why the hell not? So anyway.
No, yeah, it's beautiful. And the market the secondhand market shows it's held its value and probably appreciated to
I can
some
say it.
extent.
I think it definitely has.
Yeah, it definitely has. They're beautiful models, and I'll be picking mine up at York for my friend who got it for me. It's I'm excited for that one. A very very pretty model.
Which one did you get?
I got my friend got me. We worked together and got the black and red BR44.
That thing is clean.
It is.
I don't know if that's what I'm new. I don't know if that's a description of what a lot of people say on trains, but
Yeah.
Me being Bradley, I'm looking this up and wow, it's fantastic.
It's beautiful. It's clean. It's slick looking. It's just totally different from what the American steam engines look like, and it just shows the level of detail that can be put into a model. And it's not even. I'm pretty sure it's not even brass. It's die cast. So it's impressive.
That's the other thing. Yeah. I mean, same thing with, the other engine that we lose our minds over is the Royal Bavarian Pacific. Oh my gosh. That's a legendary find when someone gets one of those, especially if it's the German one too, with the red and the black.
Or the blue.
Just lose their minds.
Don't get me started. The blue
Bavarian. The blue one,
I can hear Dan taunting Tony right now.
Oh man.
I guess we've kind of gone all over the place here, but something we touched on earlier, and I think it's worth touching on because it's something we didn't have for roughly 5 years, and now it's out, and people are getting the new product and seem to be enjoying it, and you guys are working through some of the, I guess, everything has little hiccups and issues here and there, and you seem to be dealing with it well, is the WTIU, the replacement for the old WIU and TIU setup. I guess, is there anything to elaborate on that? I know it's been launched for a little while now, and you've put out some updates and things, but any info on that?
I'm going to let Bradley, I call him the WTIU help desk. So I'm going to let him elaborate here.
Yeah, no, it's been good so far. We brought it in. I think the transition to an iPad or something of that sort has been one of the biggest things. And I know a lot of you guys are the handheld remote people.
Yeah.
As things develop and change, an app was good, and as we've said, we're working on getting that tether, and also hopefully possibly establish a wireless option for the old handheld remote.
Mm-hmm.
For the WTIU. We came out the firmware update to pick up all those, some of the chop sine waves and whatnot for the WTIU to get, and it's been a lot better since then. Not to say that it was bad. It's just, everything's an adjustment, and we've done a really good job. I feel like working along with people and helping them, to get where they need to be with it to run their trains. And so, it's something, as you change different processing systems and whatnot, as I said, change is hard, but we went a route that, if you look at it in the big picture, is a great thing for the whole entire model train industry. And the reason I say that is there's nothing else that is quote unquote, and I'm not going to say it's fully universal, but universal like that, right? Yeah. So we established it to where you can still run your Lionel stuff, we made it to where now the WTIU is AC and DC. So you can run your HO, you can run, your G gauge if you have a DC G gauge, our O gauge stuff. And I think it's opened a window to a system that wasn't available, that a lot of different modelers can run on. And I think it'll help them open to, possibly different paths that they want to go. And it's been fun. I think it's a good piece of technology, and as people adjust to it, well, we're going to see a lot of them on layouts. So
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sid. Go ahead, Sid. You're good.
I was just gonna say it's great to see. For so long, people were having to buy old units, and they were obviously expensive, but people were still buying the MTH products, and them being able to now run them with all of the features now and using the app. And I love the MTH app. It's a lot of fun to use, and it doesn't feel as toy like and cartoony as some other apps that are on the market. So it's just great to see that it's out there now. People can get their products running the way, with all the potential of MTH products. And that's all I want in the end, is for people to be happy and for this hobby to continue growing and people just enjoying their model trains.
100%.
Yeah, that's the biggest part. And it's an important piece. If you think about it in the long run, it's not even as expensive as some of the diesels, right? That you buy.
Yeah, exactly.
And what you need to run your layout, that's very important. I think what it will be able to do as we work on things and release more features of it, it's going to be something that hasn't been out there. Whether that's importing, exporting sound files through the app, or protocasting stuff straight from your phone, which I think is pretty cool, and other features of that sort, and being able to run different scales. I think that as I mentioned earlier, and it really be good. And I'm also excited for people to be able to use the handheld remote with it, because they do know it like the back of their hand. And I feel like I'm repeating myself here, but
You're fine.
No, you're totally fine, man.
we're excited what it's going to bring. So
For sure, and I have to say it has to be applauded how well you guys been responding to the feedback when it comes to the WTIU. It's one of those things where, like you said, it's a new product. There's going to be some teething troubles and things need to be worked out. And the fact that you guys have been very responsive to the feedback and taken it in stride and released updates that helped resolve big issues so quickly, it's huge. And the app control is really great. As Sid mentioned, I love the MTH app. I think it works very well. When I got it, what it does really well is that I personally liked when I made that jump into buying command control for MTH, because I had my conventional IR remote from the early 2000s from my starter set. That's how I ran. I didn't have the budget to jump fully into a DCS into the DCS system with a TIU and remote at the time. So I bought the DCS Explorer, which allowed me to experiment with the app. And as a person who didn't know all the functionality of MTH quite yet, and only knew the basic, bell whistle combinations and stuff like that, you guys lay it out very well. It's a very easy to understand app. It's very easy to look at, very intuitive for someone who may not be used to app control. And the fact that you have expanded on that even more and made it even more user friendly with the WTIU and make it more accessible to folks, I think this is a big step in the hobby. I know we all, a lot of us are quote unquote veterans, love our remotes and such, and nothing will beat the tactile feel of using a remote and all that. I have mine. I have 2 or 3 remotes for that exact reason. But for the newcomers to the hobby or people who want to do that next step, you guys have really taken a lot of consideration into making that jump and making it as user friendly as possible. So I think that's something that definitely deserves to be applauded.
I'm going to do the Jerry Seinfeld real quick. That's directed at me, isn't it? No, I got to echo all you guys. It's the app it's such a fun dynamic app too. The way you control the throttle is so fun. I really got to use it a lot with Sid was showing me, and Johnny too, how to use it on some of our trips last year to Detroit and Chicago. And it's such a useful thing to have, especially when you're traveling abroad with your models. And it's having it work so well with all the other, you go to someone else's layout, product goes right away. So it's a great thing, and I'm glad that people have been receptive to the being patient and everything when it comes to the WTIU, because it's something. It's a little bit, it's a little bit of pain up front, to work out things out for a long life ahead of being stable and everything. So I see nothing but good things for the future of that product. It's going to be a good thing for the hobby, and it's what we needed too.
For sure. Let's I think that's all the main topics we want to cover today. So let's end it off with on a very positive note there that you had there, John. Because this is great for the future of the hobby, and I you guys at MTH are really filling us with a lot of positivity and optimism for the future. So, with that being said, John, you wanna take us on home, my man?
Absolutely. So just we're gonna do this a few times, obviously, because we're gonna gush. This is just how we do things. Rich, Bradley, guys, thank you so much for just not only just being here, but for being this, being what you are to our community and our hobby. It means so much to us. Like, it really, really does. I like I said, I can't believe it's getting to talk to MTH. It's such a wonderful thing. Still makes me I just have a big grin on my face even now. So thank you so much for just talking with us and just listening to what we have to say. We appreciate it a whole lot.
Look, it's our pleasure. We do this because we enjoy the community, and we're happy, to try to just keep listening and keep producing what people want, because the passion, it's fun to see the passion.
100%, and echoing John's sentiment, it's literal childhood dream to never would have child me would never believe that I get to talk to MTH in the future. So thank you,
Right,
guys.
same.
Yeah.
I
that's
just want to say,
here too.
I just want to say thank you to you all. Y'all put me on your podcast, so that's your mistake. But besides that, no, it's been fantastic. I greatly appreciate the opportunity. It was fantastic talking to you guys before we did the podcast, both at York and on that video chat that night. I got to introduce myself, and also tonight. It's been really good. We're excited for the future of things, and once again, communicating with you all. And if you guys have interest in doing it in the future, we would love to do it again. I don't know if Rich will. He could be retired by then, but we'll see where life takes us.
I'm not that old yet.
We would love to have you guys stay friends of the podcast. Absolutely. If you guys want to come back, we'd love to make this, if you guys want to do it as a somewhat regular thing, we can, we can definitely do some stuff. We definitely discussed some interesting stuff, Bradley. So we will, we'll see where things go. But seriously, guys, thank you so much. And we, of course, want to thank our wonderful community that we have. Take a moment to shout out some fantastic people who have boosted our server, help keep the lights on at the Miniature Models Podcast server. We have, of course, this time around, SDIV_Tim, Tim's Trains, Blue Comet Fan 833, Maddie C Trains, Newt 1969, Commodore Ghost Ninja, The Rambles, Hard Work Pays Off, Dashing Dan's Trains, Everyday is Life, and SD70 Train Fan. We really appreciate you guys so much. It is you who inspire us to keep the show going. And as we always say, we make this show for all of you. Guys, that was a great show tonight. That was really, really, really something. I see our stop is coming up next here. I think we have to hit the direction button on the remote quickly to get the train into sequence. We can't overrun the platform because then we got to go all the way back around again. And I can't take any more time. I can't do that again. We got to do it this time. I have no more leave. The company my job hasn't seen me in months. Oh man. Yeah, no. But if you'd like to get more of us off the air, Bradley, Rich, where can folks find MTH Trains?
Well, there's a dealer locator right on the mthtrains.com website. There's also, anytime you're looking up a specific item, if any stores claim, they can log on to our portal and list any trains they have, MTH trains. It could even be very old MTH trains if they bought a collection or whatever. But if you're looking up a specific item, it'll say available in stores, and you'll know that at least one, if not quite a few MTH shops have those trains for sale. So that's how you can find trains that way.
Excellent. And what about social media and stuff? You guys are obviously on a bunch of different platforms. What are some of the best ways to just check out what MTH has been up to?
I'm too old for that. I'll let Bradley answer it.
Yeah. So as Rich mentioned earlier in the podcast, we have an e-newsletter. That's our version of catalog. You can go onto the front page of the website. It'll be right there below the banner pictures. Sign up for the e-newsletter. You're going to have to fill out a little bit of information. But besides that, you'll get a weekly email of what our new announcement is, of what we're going to be running. And you'll also get a daily email that will either be a news release, a custom run announcement of a dealer, or possibly a notification of dealers getting certain things in stock. And then in terms of social media, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram. We plan on diving a little bit more into those, and so you'll see some more activity there soon. But besides that, mthtrains.com. If you'd like to contact us there is a contact us section, and we'll get that message and we'll get back to you as soon as we can.
Love it. Thank you so much, guys. Johnny, where can folks find you, sir?
You can find me on YouTube at Audamus, that's Audamus, where I recently made a video about the new additions to my collection and adding some custom sounds using an MP3 board. So if that interests you, go ahead and check that out. You can also find me on Instagram and Facebook at Audamus_trains, where I am a lot more active posting pictures. I've actually been posting a lot of new products I got from Third Rail and some engines I recently upgraded and weathered. Last but not least, you can find me on the Miniature Models Podcast Community Discord server, where I'm reading and responding to all of your posts and making a fool of myself in the voice chat. So come on down. It's lots of fun.
Fantastic. Matt Z, where can folks find you, sir?
Find me on YouTube, Matt-Trainlover9943. Facebook, when I remember to use it under the same name. Instagram, Matts.hobbies. And like Johnny said, always in the Discord server there. Bradley, Rich, thank you guys so much. I had an amazing time tonight, and I definitely can't wait to schedule something again in the future. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. Echo those sentiments as well. Mr. Sid, where can folks find you, sir?
You can find me on YouTube under the channel Sid's Trains, where I make videos on technical upgrades and layout work and whatever new train I have in. You can also find me on Instagram under Sydney's Trains, and you can also find me on the podcast Discord server under Sid's Trains. It's a lot of fun on the server. I definitely recommend you join the server if you can.
Absolutely. And you can find me on YouTube at RetroMikado and on Instagram at RetroMikado96. Got some good stuff coming down the pike, so be sure to follow and subscribe there. And also don't forget to favorite the podcast info there. Also, make sure to follow the podcast Instagram account at Miniature Models Podcast. Tons of exclusive content there you can't get anywhere else. We've been getting a lot of stuff done behind the scenes on the server. We have been very, very busy. We got some great stuff coming this year, so be sure to join if you're not yet. Why even listening? And come on, we have a great community. Make sure to join, and also don't forget to check those affiliate links and subscriptions and sponsorships down in the show notes. We got a lot of good info down there. Do not miss it. Guys, thank you again so much. This is an excellent show. I can't wait for the community to have a listen to this. And we hope you guys have a fantastic evening. As always, wishing you green boards and dry rails, everybody.
Take care, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Take care.
Appreciate it.